Charlie Munger, one of the absolute figureheads and the partner of Warren Buffett, sadly died today, November 28th. I had the opportunity to meet him twice, not in a small setup. One is over 10 years ago. It was at the Berkshire shareholder meeting, I think with tens of thousands of people. One was in a smaller setup. There were about 150 people. I think this was in 2016 or 2017 in a mastermind, and he shared some of his wisdoms there. And I think many of us have seen Munger, obviously always next to Buffett, but Munger had these very interesting wisdoms, and I thought I want to share with you the two main takeaways that I have from him. And obviously they are tied to crypto, and they're also a bit tied to the company here at Cake. And yeah, so I wanted to discuss these a bit. I don't know if you have seen some of those short videos that are out there from Munger where he has these very snappy answers to some of those replies, always very authentic. I don't know if you've read Poor Charlie's Almanac. It's a fantastic book. I can highly recommend that. But I think the main first takeaway, and I think that's a very famous one for crypto people, is that quote that he has, that Bitcoin is rat poison squared. And he hasn't said this only once. He kept saying this over and over and over and over again. Now, why is this such an important kind of takeaway for me? Well, for me, Charlie Munger, together with Buffett, obviously, has always been an investment idol. There are a lot of philosophies that I was always taken from him, and the ideas, the being very contrarian, all these things I've always taken from him. But I think there's one lesson in that, and that is your idols are not always right in everything, right? They can be right in some things, but they're not going to be right in everything. And they have their circle of confidence. And I think where Munger was just so strong were these companies that they invest in, things that never change. The railroad companies, understanding price to value in these cash flow companies. This is so powerful. And I try to apply a lot of those things here at the business. A lot of these fundamentals. It's always so interesting when he got asked about EBITDA, and he always says, just replace EBITDA with bullshit. And it's very similar what we actually do in the company when we talk about cash flow and so on. So I think this was so interesting, but it was for me so fascinating reflecting on Charlie Munger. I think the first time I read about him was like over 15 years ago, and then when I met him at this event, and I was like, wow, this is so inspiring. This was pre-Bitcoin. I mean, I learned Bitcoin in 2014, and it was prior. So, and then kind of hearing him saying Bitcoin is rat poison squared is, I don't know, it just kind of reminds me a bit that, your idols can be wrong. And I think that's such a powerful kind of reminder, and it applies to literally anyone that you look up to. The second lesson, that kind of is really an absolutely important one, I think it applies to crypto almost more than his first one, is his statement that the world is driven by envy more than anything else. And I think this is such a powerful reminder when you look at how people invest. You see this with coins, right? People invest in their coins, and their coin is up 40%. They should be super happy, but then they kind of see their neighbor, and their neighbor says, oh, look at my coin. My coin is up 80%. And suddenly you're like, oh my goodness, what am I doing wrong? I only made 40% and my neighbor made 80%. And then you start kind of running after these pumpers, and you kind of go after that, and you then always buy, you buy high, you sell low. And a lot of this comes from always being a bit envious and being scared that you miss out. A lot of FOMO, right, comes from that. A lot of the hate that you see on social media, a lot of the FUD is centered around all of that. And I think it really comes down to this fundamental idea that Charlie Munger always tried to teach us, which is that the world is mostly driven by envy. So for me, the main takeaways in all of that, and obviously I'm a big believer in Bitcoin, I'm a big believer in crypto, and I want to not fall for this envy trap. So what I just always do is I try to cut out my emotions. I don't try to look left and right on those things always. I just try to focus on going forward. I dollar cost average. I kind of put the emotions out, and dollar cost averaging has just been such a good strategy. Bitcoin, Ethereum, DeFi chain, whatever coins you feel make the most sense. And so for me, these are just the things I take away from him. Rest in peace, investment legend. It was just, such an honor to have a lot of these investment advices from him. And let me know what your takeaway from Charlie Munger is. What is the remembrance for you? What is the memory that sticks out? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see more of that, click the like button, subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Yours truly, Julian.